The Toronto Blue Jays were expected to be very active this offseason, and they still might be that, but they might go in a totally different direction than the fan base was expecting. So we'll break down some potential options and what's to come next for the Blue Jays on this episode of Jays Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Jay's Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And before we get into it, Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Don't know what time you're going to be watching this at, but if it's in 2025, then Happy New Year to you guys, and all the best to each and every one of our viewers and listeners and everyone who takes time to comment. All positivity, all good vibes heading into next year. So shout out to you guys. Thank you for what was a great 2024. All the support. Nick and I can't even put it into words. So thank you so much yet again. And hopefully we can keep it going next year. But shout out to you guys. And Nick, even though the Jays have been not doing anything, they've been kind of idle for the past, what, 2 weeks now, I think. When was the last time they did anything? 2 weeks ago, maybe. So it's been rough, and you guys have been keeping up with the content, so we appreciate that. But I truly don't know what direction this team is going to head in. And that was one of my major complaints on the last time I was on here, Nick. It's that they don't have a direction. And they're kind of in this middle ground right now where their best players are going to be free agents after this season. And they don't have any prospects coming up that I'm inherently excited about. So for that reason, it seems like a rebuild is kind of written on the wall, but I really don't know here.
Yeah, there's a very interesting report that came out this morning, and it's surrounding a Korean prospect. You can see it right here. So Hyeseong Kim, don't not to be mistaken with the one on the Padres, who is an MLB player. This is a prospect from the KBO League, and he has an offer from the Toronto Blue Jays. And this is interesting as it has some serious implications here surrounding Bichette and his future in Toronto as well. So you can see the Jays reportedly have contract offer to Korean infielder Hyeseong Kim. It's unclear exactly what the role would be, but he is a highly regarded defender. And if he were to sign in Toronto, he would simply make a good addition to the top or bottom of the order, and his speed could help give the Jays some much needed athleticism. And in case you aren't familiar with Hyeseong Kim, he's 25 years old. He plays in the KBO, and he is a very solid hitter, hits for batting average, doesn't hit for a ton of power, but a little bit similar actually to the Hyeseong Kim in San Diego. Very good defender, some very good speed, and this is interesting because they do have an offer on the table for him, which means to me, and there's been a lot of buzz surrounding Bichette trade rumors over the past couple of weeks here. Peter, they have an offer for a shortstop who would seemingly be their starting shortstop. I mean, they also have Andres Jimenez, who could also be a starting shortstop here. But if they have an offer on the table, Bochet's future in Toronto is certainly in jeopardy, and it's very, very interesting. Turns 26 in January, and we'll get into his stats here in a minute, but it's a very intriguing fit given the fact that they have multiple shortstops already on the team.
Yeah, now this is tough for me because I can't say that I've broken down his game and I've been waking up at 5 a.m. to watch the KBO. I don't do that. I'm not that much of a freak when it comes to baseball, but he seems definitely like an intriguing player. But he also reminds me a little bit of Jung Ho Lee, who came over last year, who is obviously a center fielder, signed a $90 million deal with the Giants in free agency. And the light hitting, I don't know how well that plays up to Major League Baseball. Now, if you put him at shortstop and you have Jimenez at second base, I don't think you would be able to name a lighter hitting duo up the middle of the infield in Major League Baseball because the game is just moving in a totally different direction. Now, I understand the stolen bases, the batting average, but the pitching is nowhere near as good in the KBO as it is in the major leagues. If not, those guys would be in the major leagues. The money is better. They have more opportunities in the MLB, so we can't really look into those numbers too deeply. And I see a lot of 300 batting averages. I see a lot of 30 plus stolen bases. That's all fine, but Jung Ho Lee is not putting up the same numbers that he put up in the KBO, and no, nor is any player really that has come over from that league. So it's one thing to have success there, but it's not dominant to the point where you have to start paying attention to this guy. I don't know what the contract looks like. Maybe it's something that's a lot more digestible than the Jung Ho Lee contract that ended up being 5 years, 90 million. But light hitting guys, I think the fan base has had enough of that. I think we've had enough of that. and defense and speed. They could only win you so many games, but you got to be able to drive the ball out of the ballpark. And I'm not saying to not explore other options beyond Bo Bichette, but I don't know if this is the answer either.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't mind the player. You see, he put up 46 stolen bases in 2021, 30 stolen bases. He would give you something that the Jays don't have, but also they don't necessarily need a light hitting infielder. But now that begs the question. We know that reports have started to swirl surrounding this whole offseason. Ken Rosenthal a few weeks ago, Bob Nightingale, that they're entertaining at this moment trade offers for Bo Bichette because he is a pending UFA. And last week, Ken Rosenthal said the Jays are open to trading for Bo Bichette as long as it's for a high price. So rumors are starting to fly surrounding Bo, and that kind of transitions into this now. We know teams like the Braves have been interested in Bo Bichette, obviously the Padres, a bunch of different teams, Dodgers. But if the Jays at this point, Peter, are pursuing, and either way, they have an offer on the table for Hyeseong Kim. That is confirmed. They must either be confident in their ability to move Bo Bichette if he accepts the offer, or they're going to use Kim as a different utility, super utility guy. Maybe they play him at third base, and they've had that conversation before. But either way, it doesn't bode great for the future of Bo Bichette in Toronto. And you mentioned it. We've both been talking about it. Even the Andres Gimenez trade, that's kind of a precursor to what's, I think, going to be a bigger move. We're seeing trade rumors fly off the table. This is a pitcher for Bo Bichette. His value is super low right now, which is absurd that trades are coming out. Again, this is just from a writer, but this is kind of illustrate how low his value is right now. A top prospect, albeit, but one prospect for Bo Bichette, who is one of the best shortstops for the past 3 or 4 years here. It seems to me that Bo Bichette's time in Toronto might be coming to an end with the way that they've handled this offseason thus far, and both offering Hyeseong Kim a contract as well as getting Andres Gimenez, in a pretty big trade that they didn't necessarily need to make, although I do think it makes the team better. But he would be a great shortstop as well, and is probably the shortstop of the future, assuming Bo Bichette leaves or is traded in the next month or two.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw this, Nick. The farm system rankings
27.
around Major League Baseball, yeah, they were near the bottom. And that just shows you what the outlook is like for this Blue Jays team. The last couple of homegrown players that they brought up that were of any substance was who? It was Bo and it was Vladdy. And then apart from that, they haven't really developed any, but okay, maybe Alejandro Kirk has developed into a nice offensive piece for them, a two-way catcher, whatever. But it's they've really missed the boat on their opportunity to do anything of substance in the past few years. Their teams were stacked, their pitching was very good a couple of years ago, and they failed to capitalize. Now, I don't know if this Blue Jays team is worse than the version that we saw last year. Only time will tell. You still got to play the games. You still got to actually get to that 74 win total that you did last year in order to say that you were better. But I find it hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel because of the lack of farm system, because of the lack of clarity with the current major league squad. And the writing has been on the wall there for Bo Bichette for what feels like just a bit over a year now. And in terms of Vladdy, I mean, we were all hopeful that they would get something done. And the words that Vladdy was uttering, saying that he wanted to be a Blue Jay, saying that he wanted to remain with this organization for life, I mean, those all held a lot of weight up until this offseason has just been flying by and there's no progress made between the two sides. Because if you're Vladdy, I understand wanting to stay in Toronto and build a legacy there, but at the same time, if you're his agent, how are you not advising him to hit free agency after all of the contracts that we've seen just handed out like candy in the past couple of years? I understand as Jays fans, we don't want him to hit free agency because then it's fair game. Anyone could swoop in and get him. But Nick, I don't know how you see it, but there's no way, in my opinion, that he doesn't test free agency. And then for Bo, I mean, you might as well just try to get something for him at this point because I just don't think there's any way that they keep him around.
Yeah, I think there's a high likelihood that they trade him this offseason and then sign either someone else to play short or rock Andres Gimenez and Will Wagner at second base and see what goes from there. But reports are picking up surrounding Bo. Signings like this, or at least offers given like this, are indicating that they might not see Bo Bichette as a part of their at least future beyond this season. So let us know down below what your thoughts are on that. The unfortunate thing is this would be trading Bo Bichette and selling him at his lowest value. So hopefully if they do end up making a move, it's for something that has Jays fans excited, because a lot of Jays fans haven't felt excitement for a very long time. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on this, and let us know what your thoughts are on the Bo Bichette trade talks. See you guys later.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year as well.